You were recruited out of university not by a man in a suit, but by a professor who had been grading your loyalty long before he ever graded your exam. It's a Wednesday afternoon. The lecture hall has emptied. He calls your name as you reach the door, not loudly, not urgently, just your name. The way someone says it when they already know the answer to the question they're about to ask. You sit across from him. He asks about your family, your views on national sovereignty, whether you've ever considered serving your country in a more direct capacity. He never says the word intelligence. In China, the most important conversations are conducted entirely in the space between words. You're 21. You've spent your entire life being excellent, top of every class, politically reliable, the kind of student who joins the right organizations without being asked twice. You thought that was ambition. It wasn't. It was an application you didn't know you were filing. The Ministry of State Security does not advertise. It holds no open days. It finds you, which means it has been watching you for years before this conversation. That is the first thing you should understand about the organization you are about to enter. This is a fictional immersive POV built on publicly documented intelligence history, congressional reports, and academic research. What follows is what that system looks like from the inside, level by level, from the day you were chosen to the day you became it. Level 1, the selected. He uses a phrase you won't fully understand until 3 years later. The state has noticed you. He doesn't give you a form. He doesn't give you a number to call. He gives you an instruction. Go home, say nothing, and wait. Not your parents, not your roommate, not anyone. You've been recruited for 30 seconds, and you've already started lying to the people who know your face. The Ministry of State Security, the Guojia Anquanbu, was established in 1983, absorbing predecessor counterintelligence and foreign intelligence functions into a single unified apparatus. It recruits from China's elite universities, particularly those with strong programs in foreign languages, international relations, and advanced science. Faculty members with party ties serve as talent spotters, identifying candidates across years of observation, not months, years, before any conversation like this one ever happens. The selection isn't random and it isn't fast. It is the product of a system so patient it thinks in decades. You were identified before your second year. You didn't know. That was the point. A week passes, then a letter arrives. No return address, an address, and a time. You go. The mist doesn't change you at level 1. It just reveals the person it already knew you were. Level 2, the student of shadows. Your training facility looks like a university. It has dormitories, a cafeteria, a sports field with a running track. The difference is that nothing studied here will appear on any public record, and no one here will tell you the name of this institution if you ask. You learn English until you dream in it. Not conversational English. The English of ambiguity, of implication, of the half-sentence that communicates everything without committing to anything. You study the psychology of foreigners, how they build trust, how they respond to flattery, how they rationalize sharing things they know they shouldn't share, and the mental frameworks they construct so they can sleep afterward. You memorize organizational charts of Western intelligence agencies. You study their failures in detail. There are many. Academic analysts who study Chinese intelligence, including researchers who've examined defector accounts and official Chinese security literature, have noted that mistraining places unusual emphasis on patience as a professional virtue, not patience as temperament. Patience as strategy. The MIS operates on a timeline that Western agencies, under political cycles and annual budget reviews, structurally cannot match. You are being trained not just in what to do, but in how to wait to do it. The distinction is the entire architecture. One evening, a trainer shows your cohort photographs, Chinese citizens who passed information to foreign agencies. He doesn't describe what happened to them. The photographs communicate that efficiently enough. You graduate with a degree that doesn't exist, from an institution with no name, for a country that will never publicly acknowledge you served it. Level 3, the listener. Your first posting isn't overseas. It's a 5-star hotel in Shanghai. Your cover is hotel management, and it isn't only a cover. You manage the breakfast service. You handle guest complaints. You remember names and room numbers and dietary restrictions. You are, by any observable measure, an attentive and competent hospitality professional. The guests like you. That's the point. Your actual function is pattern recognition. Which foreign executives drink alone? Which ones are financially stressed? The ones who study the restaurant menu twice before ordering? who hesitate at the minibar, which ones are having affairs, which ones are feuding with their boards, which ones are in the country negotiating deals their companies haven't made public. China's 2017 National Intelligence Law legally obligates all citizens and organizations to support and cooperate with national intelligence work, which means your presence here isn't unusual. Institutionally speaking, it's simply the system working as designed. You submit reports once a month. Your handler meets you in a parking structure near the Bund. The exchange takes 4 minutes. He doesn't read the report in front of you. He takes it. You go back to work. A German executive at the hotel bar tells you one evening that his joint venture partnership in Chengdu is collapsing. He's 3 drinks in and stressed, and you brought him an extra pillow on his first night. He trusts you. He can't explain why. The reason is that you've been engineering this trust for 6 weeks without a single visible seam. That conversation goes into your report under a section labeled exploitation potential. You've been taught that information is power. At level 3, you start to understand that trust is just information with a human face. Level 4, the cultivator. You are now listed at a consulate in a western city as a cultural affairs attach. The listing is accurate in the same way a ship's waterline is accurate. It describes the visible portion. Your real portfolio is the diaspora. You attend community association dinners, Lunar New Year galas, alumni networks of Chinese-born professionals working in technology, finance, and academia. You are charming. You are genuinely interested in people. The Miss selected for that, trained it, and then deployed it. You help a professor get her mother's visa application expedited. You connect an entrepreneur with investment contacts in Shenzhen who are looking for exactly his kind of project. You ask for nothing. The ask, when it comes, must feel like the natural continuation of a friendship. It must feel like an obvious next step that the other person practically suggests themselves. The FBI has described the Chinese intelligence methodology in public congressional testimony as a 1,000 grains of sand approach, gathering vast amounts of small intelligence contributions from many low-level voluntary sources, rather than recruiting one high-value spy who knows they've been turned. The model is patient, distributed, and extremely difficult to prosecute, because most of the people contributing don't understand that what they're doing has a name. A second-generation Chinese-American engineer attends a community event you organized. He was born in Ohio. His Mandarin is poor. He has never been to China. His security clearance is excellent, and he is lonely in the specific way that people are when they are between identities, not quite at home in any community, searching for somewhere that claims him. You invite him to dinner. He accepts. The Miss has been patient for 40 years. You can afford to be patient for 40 weeks. Level 5, the networker abroad. You now manage a network spanning 3 cities and 2 continents. None of your assets know each other. Several don't know their assets. They believe they're participating in a professional exchange program funded by a Beijing-based foundation with an English name that sounds reassuringly academic, the kind of name that appears on conference lanyards and university partnership agreements. The information they provide flows back to Beijing through a system so carefully segmented that your handler in China has never met you in person. Between 2018 and 2024, multiple U.S. Department of Justice indictments named Miss connected individuals operating under exactly this kind of academic and business cover in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. The indictments described the architecture you're running. They described it from the outside. You know it from the inside, which is a different kind of knowledge entirely. One of your assets, a researcher with access to sensitive dual-use technology at a mid-tier Western university, tells you he's nervous. He's read about one of those DOJ indictments. He names it. He asks whether what he's been doing could be characterized the way the indictment characterized similar activity. You have a script for this moment. You've rehearsed it. It involves acknowledging his concern in a way that validates his intelligence, because intelligent people need to feel heard before they can be redirected. It involves reframing his participation as cultural bridge building, as a contribution to scientific exchange, as something any reasonable person would recognize as benign. And then, near the end of the conversation, you mention his sister's visa, not as a threat, just as a reminder. He stays. They always stay. The Miss doesn't build cages. It builds obligations, which hold far better. Level 6, the Cyber Shadow. You are never in the same country as the servers you're touching. Your team operates in a building in a mid-tier Chinese city that looks, from the street, like a software startup. The hours are long. The air conditioning is aggressive. There are whiteboards covered in network architecture diagrams and coffee cups on every desk, and a general atmosphere of technical focus that is, in its surface texture, indistinguishable from a legitimate technology company. The difference is the target list. The U.S. Department of Justice, the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre, and allied intelligence agencies have attributed multiple advanced persistent threat groups, APT-10, APT-40, APT-41, to MISIS departments. APT-41 is documented as conducting both state espionage and financially motivated cybercrimes simultaneously, making it unique in the threat landscape. The 2020 DOJ indictment of 5 individuals connected to APT-41 cited intrusions affecting over 100 companies across more than 20 countries. Defense contractors, law firms, healthcare systems, government ministries. The goal was not disruption. Disruption announces itself. The goal was sustained, invisible access, a presence so quiet it could sit inside a network for 2 years, learning its rhythms, before it ever extracted anything. You gain access to the network of a cancer research hospital at a Western university. The database contains pharmaceutical IP you were tasked to retrieve. It also contains patient records, tens of thousands of them, names, diagnoses, treatment histories. You take the IP. You leave the patient records entirely untouched. You tell yourself that was a moral choice. Your handler, if you described it to him, would tell you it was efficiency. Both things are true. You're no longer sure that distinction matters. The most dangerous intrusion is the one no one finds for 3 years. By then, it's not an intrusion anymore. It's furniture. Level 7. The controller. You no longer run assets. You run officers who run assets. Your name does not appear on any operational file, not even internally. You are a structural node, a routing point. The intelligence that flows across your desk arrives from networks on 4 continents, gathered by officers you've never spoken to, from targets who don't know their targets. You read about events before they happen because someone in your network was in the room where they were decided. You read about technological breakthroughs before they're published because someone on your network had access to the lab. The information is extraordinary. The distance is total. You have not shaken another human hand for operational purposes in 3 years. One of your officers is compromised abroad. The host country's counterintelligence service has made the identification, a surveillance detection failure, a pattern recognized over too many months of consistent behavior. You have 72 hours. Extract him and burn the entire network he ran. 4 years of cultivation, 11 active sources, 3 operations at various stages. Or leave him in place, hope his cover holds under questioning, and preserve the network. The calculus is operational. It is not personal. He is a node in the same architecture that defines you. You make the call in 12 minutes. You choose the network. He'll understand. He was trained by the same system that trained you to make exactly this choice. Level 8. The Architect of Influence. Your mandate has expanded beyond collection. You are no longer gathering information about environments. You are shaping them. The Safeguard Defenders organization documented, in a 2022 report, over 50 undeclared Chinese government-linked service stations operating in cities across Europe, North America, and beyond, used to monitor, pressure, and in some cases coerce overseas Chinese nationals. The FBI and MI5 issued a rare joint public warning that same year, describing Chinese intelligence activity targeting Western businesses and universities as the single most significant long-term counterintelligence threat either agency faced. These are the visible edges of a system whose interior you now help design. A politician in a European country has been consistently hostile to Chinese infrastructure investment. He's facing an election. You don't touch the election. You don't fund anyone. You don't write a single message that could be traced to a decision you made. What you do is ensure that the business community in his country has, over the preceding 18 months, developed a set of financial relationships that make his opposition's policy positions considerably easier to fund. You don't write the narrative. You cultivate the conditions that make a particular narrative the path of least resistance. By the time it arrives, it looks inevitable. Inevitable things don't get investigated. A dissident writer living in Toronto publishes a memoir. She names party figures, names events. Within a week, her family in Shandong province receives visits from local security officers. She calls it harassment. She's not wrong. You read the report on those visits in a document that arrived on your desk through channels you did not initiate. You didn't order it, but it came from the system you serve. That distinction used to feel important. You notice, reading the report, that it no longer does. The The most powerful intelligence service in the world doesn't need to be everywhere. It just needs everyone to believe that it is. You've been in this organization for 23 years. You have a title that exists in 12 buildings on Earth and nowhere else. You have influence that shapes events in countries whose languages you don't speak and whose populations don't know your name. You have no public existence. Your family knows you work for the government. Your children have never asked which part. They've learned, as children in these families learn, that some questions are not questions. They're tests of what you understand about how things work. Your children are very intelligent. They don't ask. You attend a briefing with men whose decisions move the world. You are one of the people who gives them the information those decisions are made from. You understand, sitting in that room, that the MIS is not a department of a government. It is a nervous system. It processes signals. It generates responses. It does not have opinions. It has functions. You are one of its functions, and you are excellent at it. The distinction between you and the institution you serve dissolved somewhere around level 5, and you didn't mark the moment, because there was no moment. There was just a gradual convergence, 1 year at a time, until you reached into yourself to find the person who existed before this and found the architecture instead. A younger officer you mentored is being considered for a high-risk operation. He reminds you of yourself at level 2, disciplined, certain, excellent in the specific way that the system produces excellence, clean, reliable, ideologically coherent, with no visible seams. You could flag his profile for reassignment. A word from you would redirect him entirely. You write your assessment in 11 minutes. You recommend him. Somewhere tonight, a professor is staying late after a lecture. He has a student's file open on his desk. The file was sent to him by someone he's never met, through a channel he understands well enough not to examine closely. The student is 21. Excellent grades, politically reliable, the kind of person who joins the right organizations without being asked twice. The professor has watched this student for 2 years, in class, in student association meetings, in the small decisions people make when they think no one important is watching. He picks up his phone. The call takes 40 seconds. He provides a name. Nothing else is needed. Somewhere, that name is added to a list. The list has no title. It doesn't need one. It is the same list your name was added to the night before you thought you were going to discuss your grades. The student doesn't know yet. He'll go home tonight. He'll study. He'll be excellent in every way the system requires. He thinks that's ambition. He doesn't know it's an application. He'll know soon. The institution doesn't end with you. It never began with you. You were one signal in a nervous system that was running before you arrived, and is running right now, in real time, in the present tense, in lecture halls and hotel lobbies and parking structures and server rooms and consulate offices and conference rooms where men with no public names discuss things that will shape the world before morning. The seat at that desk is never empty for long.